We are back. Our guests remain with us, Donna Edwards and David Jolly, both former members of Congress. And I wanted to share with our audience what we have seen and heard from our president today and tonight. First, on Twitter, he put out this imagery of what it is he's actually thinking of on the border, along with a Customs and Border Patrol vehicle there in the foreground. And you see the picture of the pointy things at the top of those slats or posts in the fence. Then tonight, the White House issued this video. It is, in effect, a propaganda video. The president was not available to reporters or questions today, but increasingly they're putting out these videos, often from the Rose Garden. This one was recorded indoors, though he is speaking in a semi-shout. And in addition to the menacing-looking video of menacing-looking people looking like they're trying to break into our country, you'll hear the changing definition of this barrier he's fighting for on our southern border.
It's very dangerous out there. Drugs are pouring in, human trafficking, so many different problems, including gangs like MS-13. We don't want them in the United States. We don't want them in our country. The only thing that's going to stop that is great border security with a wall or a slat fence or whatever you want to call it.
So, David Jolly, build that slat fence. I guess not as effective a chant at rallies. And wait till you see the blooper tape of various people in my line of work trying to say slat fence quickly this weekend into next. Sure. What do you make of it?
Here's what he's actually doing. The definition matters because what the Senate agreed to with the additional $1.6 billion says the wall has to be consistent with the historical designs of a pedestrian barrier. In other words, these fantasy walls that the president likes to showcase don't qualify under the Senate language. So he's actually pivoting and giving in to the Senate definition. But, you know, Brian, the opportunity that's being missed right now, and frankly for Republicans to show they can stand up to the president, is this. The only dispute right now is over the Homeland Security budget. What you read at the top of the hour is correct. They've already reached agreement on agriculture, on commerce, on state, on justice, on transportation, on housing and urban development. The House and Senate could pass those by voice vote right now, give them to the president. This partial shutdown would drop to about less than 5% of the government. All of Donna's former constituents could keep going to work. But the president is using this just to play a game over a wall that he promised. But the facts just aren't there to support the argument he's making.
Of course, Donna, people were already tweeting tonight, just asking how wide are drugs, and the implication being that a slat fence, of course, is not the impenetrable wall that he campaigned on.
Well, that's true. Look, I'm just so tired, I think, as many Americans are, of the president and this fantasy of a wall. I mean, the fact is that the president's party, the Republican Party, controls the White House, the House, and the Senate. The president has been offered $1.6 billion to use for his slat fence or wall or whatever it is that he wants to call it. He's refused to take that. And the reality is that he is not going to get any more today than he's going to get in January, than he's going to get in February. And so he may as well just take the deal that's on the table, pass the Senate bill, sign it into law, keep the government open, because otherwise it's just as he said. He owns this shutdown. He's proud of owning this shutdown, and it's going to carry, you know, federal workers and others who rely on federal services, put them in a lurch right at the holiday season. This is just so reprehensible. And so, you know, let's get on with the semantics and get this done for the American people. And again, they control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They should put the votes together, put the bill on the floor, and get it done so that people can enjoy their holidays.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.